Well, hello and welcome back to yet another Off Field Diaries segment on the Third Man Cricket Show. Today, we are not here to discuss about any player or to talk about any particular match, but today we are here to get ourselves enlightened with knowledge, wisdom, and to pick the brains of someone who has been a part of the sporting industry for over 2 decades now. He's represented India in the Asian Games of 1982, also managed an IPL franchise all the way back in 2008 and is the founder of Mashal Sports, the organization which is the sole reason why our generation was introduced to the sport of Kabaddi. He's someone who has known this sport inside out, and we express our sheer excitement and pleasure as we have the privilege of hosting him here tonight. To all those who have guessed it right, yes, it is none other than Mr. Charu Sharma himself. Welcome, sir, Charu Sir, to our show. It is such a privilege of hosting you here tonight, and we couldn't have had a better start to our segment here. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show. First of all, thank you so much for taking a time out of your busy schedule and doing this show with us. And we are looking forward to have a wonderful show with you.
Thank you, Sanchit. Thank you for introduction. I've actually been involved with the world of sport ever since I was born. So that makes it many more years than 20. But it's all I know, it's all I do. And therefore, with great immodesty, may I say that's why I have no problem about the world of sport. Whatever it is you want to ask, today is the day, now's the time.
Definitely, sir. So without wasting any further ado, let us begin with the questions that we have prepared for the great man himself. So firstly, sir, in this fantastic journey that you have scripted, we all know about Charu Sharma, the broadcaster, Charu Sharma, the commentator, Charu Sharma, the founder of Mashal Sports. But it has clearly outshadowed Charu Sharma, the athlete, way back in 1982. So, sir, how do you feel when you reflect upon all those years?
Well, sometimes I do feel that people not knowing my sporting background probably think I'm just somebody who talks about sport. But I am actually a sportsman, and that's all I've done all my life. But, back in the 70s when I was pursuing my diving career, it wasn't possible to make money in any sport at all. So no sport could be a livelihood. And if you pursued sports seriously, all you could do was try and get a job in a PSU or in the police or in the services. I mean, no disrespect. I think they were fabulous to offer that employment, but it was a very limited kind of field. So very quickly, of course, most of us knew, those who played sport then, that the only way to move forward was to give up quickly, retire as quickly as possible, and move on into the corporate world because, you have to make a livelihood. The same thing happened to me with my diving because it's something I picked up very, very early because of my school at Mayo College in Ajmer. We had a lovely pool, some diving boards, a wonderful coach, the late Bhavar Singh ji. And, we all kind of moved into our own areas. I just excelled in diving at maybe the age of 8 or 9, so I carried it on. I used to be a swimmer as well, but that fell apart a bit because, you can only do one thing really well and it takes so much time. I was also multi-sport then too. I used to play a lot of cricket and football, everything, but the time's limited. So I carried on with my diving for quite a while, and I even went to the US and became an all-conference diver there because of the scholarship that I got from college here. But it had to end. It had to end soon because I couldn't quite. There was no professional diving option, right, to get a livelihood.
Correct.
So I had to give that up at a ripe old age of 19 or 20. That was it. Good night, goodbye to diving. And I went on with the rest of my life. So, with the corporate world and everything else. Luckily, though, my first job was in Calcutta. I was, the clubs there kind of swoosh you in. It's a beautiful place for sport at, the club amateur level or slightly serious level. And thereafter, when I joined Lefty and joined VST, which is Wazir Sultan Tobacco in Hyderabad, they too utilized my sporting background. And I did a lot of work for VST in terms of sports sponsorship and stayed very closely connected with the world of sport in terms of sports management. So, all my life, luckily, sport has always been a very, very integral, close, passionate part.
Well, that's fantastic to know, sir, because all we knew was that in the 1982 Asian Games you had represented India as a swimmer, but there is a lot more that you've said.
Well, Amog, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I've got to, I think this is on Wikipedia or whatever. I actually qualified for the 1978 Commonwealth Games in Edmonton because of, our national camps and what have you. I achieved that mark there, but I didn't quite go then because I was in college and there was a certain amount of payment to be made and all that nonsense. But so which was a pity. Began my broadcasting career. I didn't quite dive. I commentated on diving, swimming, and water polo, but that's just a minor, whatever it is. But I've been very closely involved with the world of sport.
Well, exactly, and that's fantastic to know because there's a very limited kind of information everywhere on the internet, but it's always great to know right from the person who has done it. So I think we're really privileged to know all the information from you. So going ahead, I would just like to know about Mashal Sports because there are millions watching the game of Kabaddi today. With a keen interest in the happenings of the sport, but Mashal Sports has contributed in a humongous way to this feat about all the Indians and even people in the world knowing about the game of Kabaddi, which is one of the oldest games in India. So I just want to know from where did the idea of launching something like Mashal Sports kick in, and what was the vision that you looked at when you launched it back then?
Among this is a very dangerous question because it has at least a 3-day answer or at least a 3-hour answer. But I'll try and do it in 30 seconds. I got connected with the game of kabaddi once again because all of us, growing up in a certain time of India, did have some connections to the game, but they were loose because there wasn't too much happening publicly. It's been a very popular sport all the way through. It just wasn't being covered enough, or the media wasn't really taking to this sport. So I got called by a company that was doing the world feed, which is the main English broadcast for the 2006 Doha Asian Games, where Kabaddi, of course, has been an Asian Games sports since 1990. And in 2006, for the first time, they decided to give it a world feed broadcast. So somebody got in touch with me and said, "Would you be able to do this, Kabaddi thing?" Because I mean, he was very, flattered me a bit by saying that all roads lead to you because we've been looking for a commentator, and they all say, "Well, why don't you try Charu Sharma?" So anyway, I got flattered and I said, "Yeah, sure." And then, of course, once I'd said sure, I said, "Oh my God, well, I'd better start, knowing enough about the game to sound really knowledgeable, like it's been something I've been commentating for the last 25 years on." So I did a lot of research here in India and realized it's a really powerful game, but it was a little underground because it wasn't being given its due by the media, and even the players weren't quite getting the due. But it's a very strong game, lots of public appeal, and of course, it's just a fantastic, athletic, visually attractive game. So I went to the Asian Games and did the commentary and realized that many more people, not just me, were big fans of it. The stadium was the first one to sell out, and so on and so forth. And all the rest of the overseas media also kept questioning me, saying, "Hey, this is a great sport. You're here for it. Tell us more about it." So I knew that it was a sport that would do really well, provided it was brought out from the earth and polished like a diamond, I suppose, and presented to sports-loving people. So that's when I decided I must do something for the sport. It took very long. I had to go back to the Guangzhou Asian Games in 2010 to once again renew this whole passion, this appeal to make this, something happen. I've been talking to my brother-in-law, Anand Mahindra, and I said, "Listen, Anand, you are so fabulously reputed to be one of the, more respected homegrown entrepreneurs, and why don't you take this up and take it forward? It'll be of great benefit to your company and, of course, to the sport as well." But we couldn't quite get a plan going till 2010. When I finally came back from Guangzhou, and I told him once again, "Listen, push, push, push." And, in the meantime, in 2008, of course, the IPL had started. So people in India had suddenly gotten into this whole, league thing, this kind of promotion for sport had taken over, to make it a profession. So he, in fact, turned around and said, "Listen, you keep pushing this, but what do we do? Why don't we actually do a league privately?" I said, "Oh my God, but that's a lot of work." I mean, I was alone, I mean, where's the BCCI in terms of organizing the IPL, and I was alone. So, but I was so desperate to, put my, I suppose, body behind everything that I've been saying that I told him, "Yeah, sure, okay, I'll do it." So he was the one who suggested it. I was the one who took it forward along with him. We co-founded Mashal. We had to have a company and then take it forward. And what can I say? It took 4 years of very hard work, running around everywhere, getting rejected and dejected and pushed away. And people thought Charu Sharma was going a little off, because I mean, where's cricket and golf and everything else I do, and where's kabaddi? But I knew it was a game, if presented properly, people would love, especially in India, but of course around the world as well, because it's a very elementary game to understand. And so I kept at it. I lost a lot of assignments, lost a lot of television work, lost a lot of whatever else, lost my health, by the way, because it's no fun being so heavily rejected by everybody you go to, But anyway, so I knew, and I'm going to end this by saying that I just wanted the respect back in our own game, which is our own true blue, ancient, unique, competitive team sport in India. And if we don't in India drive it forward, who will? And I knew that this game would change forever because of its own power. It would change forever on the 26th of July, 2014, match number 1, season 1. And thank God, by the grace of God and all you guys and all the rest of the fans, it went on to become a fabulous super hit sport, India's second most watched.
Exactly. I think perfectly described, sir. And indeed, hard work does pay off. I mean, it is safe to assume that you, along with the team of Mashal Sports, have revolutionized the game of Kabaddi. And speaking about revolutionizing the game, and we spoke a little bit about the IPL. So let us now talk about the IPL. So we all know that IPL today is arguably one of the greatest sporting leagues in the world. But way back in 2008, no one really knew that this league would grow into such a stature that is now. So, what do you think, sir, has led to the IPL growing into such a huge entity? Because I remember back in 2008, the conversations were all about having doubts about the league structure and what it would do to Indian cricket in the longer run. So back then, did you think that this league would grow into something like this?
Well, I think it grew into it from the very first year. Before the first season, yes, some people might have doubted, how well is it going to do? And, how successful is it going to be commercially? But there was no doubt that in India, with 95% of India's commerce, commercial support to sport going towards cricket, a lot of money would flow into this. Do remember that, it wasn't the first. I mean, the ICL came before the IPL, and people quickly realized that, oh my God, this whole league thing can happen. And even this concept of a franchise-led league for cricket in India has been floating around since the early 90s. So it wasn't something new, really. I mean, the world has so many other leagues going on, they're all big and powerful. But its time came. In 2007, they said, oh, right, the ICL is kind of gaining too much currency. We have to squash it. So I suppose the BCCI, for good reason, decided that, okay, why don't we do it on our own and make it the official league rather than banning all the players who want to play in a league? Because ultimately, Amog, Sanchit, unless a game offers you professional livelihood avenues, standards kind of stagnate, and a less number of people play, because after all, before that only 15 people played. Now then became, the one day internationals came, T20 came, and more people got to represent India. But an IPL made sure that 200, 250 people or even more could play and make a serious living out of the sport. But of course, because a professional league is run professionally, there's so many other angles to professional sport or sports management, which then give rise to employment in a massive pyramidal kind of fashion. So all the teams have team management, and then there are organizers. There are so many, employment opportunities that come because of professional league. Did we think it was going to be big? Yeah, it was always meant to be big. It's bigger only because the monies have grown, but the kind of attention that the IPL got from year one hasn't changed. It's still, got the same level of attention, because I have to add that, I love cricket, but I love every sport. But cricket does have a very limited appeal internationally, because there are very few cricket-playing nations. So in that sense, it hasn't been able to go beyond those nations too much, because cricket's a relatively complicated and long-form kind of game to understand. But within the cricket-playing nations, of course, there's no doubt that the IPL is the number one entity or event in terms of attention, commerce, standards, everything.
Certainly, certainly. And as you rightly mentioned, it has only grown, and we always knew that it would grow into a league like this. 14 years into the tournament started right now from 2008. So, so I would just like to ask you about another thing. If we are getting our stats right here, we're just being a bit more courageous with the next question. But you were one among the invitees to promote cricket in Bahrain in 2018. And it was the Coca-Cola Bahrain Premier League quiz, if I'm not wrong. So we would really like to know your experiences and insights about those leagues, and maybe if some observations that you had to pick up on about cricket in other countries, like you just mentioned that it's very a limited segment in many countries.
Where have you picked up all this from? But yeah, no, I have a good friend, Anand Lobo in Bahrain, who's involved with the Indian club there. And he, along with others, keeps doing some activity or the other to keep himself busy, either around cricket or around quiz shows for the schools there. And I'm happy to go anywhere in the world. I mean, if there's something happening in the world of sport particularly, and if they invite me, I'm unless there's a scheduling clash, I'm ready to go. So I went there. It's largely a school kind of thing. And of course, young corporates playing, or young people in corporates playing the sport. And it was, conditions are tough in Bahrain because there isn't too much land, too much, the ground conditions are kind of, there's only one ground. So in other countries, because cricket requires so much infrastructure, if you're not a cricket playing nation, it's very difficult to get infrastructure going. So that's one thing that's going to peg cricket there's such a big push for cricket. It's not easy to get grounds made for cricket because land is specifically required if you want a special cricket ground. Otherwise, a multi-sports ground where you can only play cricket for a short while because they're required for other sports as well. So it's just that, to my mind, the infrastructure required for the game is its biggest setback. Because in countries where you don't have cricket right now, there's, oh, you need such a big ground, or you need this as well, or you need the square, it's supposed to be turf. And otherwise they can get, like they have artificial turf in the northern countries where it's cold, where it snows. Or they have, of course, our very own, matting cricket, which is there in India so often. So it's the infrastructure that's holding it back. Otherwise, as a game, it's very interesting. In the short form, I know people love to say that, test cricket or bust. Test cricket's the ultimate test. But very few people now have time, even in in cricket playing nations, they have very little time for 5-day matches. So imagine a country afresh taking onto the game saying, what? It's going to take 5 days to complete a match? No, we don't want to play this game. But luckily, cricket has evolved. It's realized that, attention spans being what they are, people are a lot busier. The T20s seem to kind of fit the bill. 3.5 hours, yeah. I mean, most sports are about 3 hours. So, yeah, 3.5 hours, I think we'll be able to spare to watch and to play and all the rest of and to be involved with. So, I think cricket's evolution will now help it grow in other nations as well. But remember, the infrastructure problem will always be a little more difficult.
Well, exactly. And the funny part majorly is that even after 5 days, you still might not have a result. So, none of the team might end up winning the game even after its, complete duration is done. But I think we're really relieved right now because we got our information right. This was really something that, we had that doubt that should be or should be not asked. But so going ahead, there's a fun segment that we would like to play with you. There are just 5 questions that we have. And it's just, we'll ask the question and then there'll be 4 options, which you'll just have to select the right answer and then we'll check if it is right
so it's
or not.
Like who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah,
all right, here we
exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So if you can just place the first question on screen. Yeah. So this is the first question: which player has represented the most IPL teams? Is it Aaron Finch, Dinesh Karthik, Yuvraj Singh, or Robin Uthappa?
Well, it's probably, it's between Robin and Aaron, but I'll pick Aaron.
Okay, Abhinav, can we check this? Yes, you are completely right, sir. He's represented a lot of IPL teams.
What a relief.
So, exactly. Can we go to the next question, Abhinav? Yes. So it's which team lost more tests in the first cycle of the World Test Championship? Is it Bangladesh, England, South Africa, or Sri Lanka?
Lost the most tests in the first cycle. I know this is a trick question, I'm sure, because people would like to pick Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, but this seems like a trick question to me. So I'm going to pick England.
Okay, can we check this, Abhinav?
South Africa. Okay. Well, I knew it was a trick question. Either South Africa or England. Well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So you got it 50% right. We can give it to you. The third question is, who was the player at the non-strikers end when Brian Lara hit his 400th run? Was it DAREN Ganga, Ridley Jacobs, Shivnarine Chandrapal, or Tino Best?
Well, that's making me think. But when he was playing, he hit 400. I don't think he was there when the bowlers were there or the keeper. So Shiv Narayan, of course, bats very early. This is a good question. Well done. That certainly got me. I don't think it's Ganga or Shivnarine Chandrapal because they would have gotten out a lot earlier. So it leaves the other two. It leaves the keeper, Jacobs, or Tino Best, the bowler. Was Ridley even playing when Lara was playing? But I can't take too much time. So I'm going to decide between B for Bombay or Ridley and D for Tino. I'd go with maybe Ridley Jacobs.
Okay, Abhinav, can we check this?
Perfect,
Yes,
sir.
so you are completely right, sir. And
Gosh.
actually speaking, sir, I love the way you are, going towards your answer, that judging that Chandrapal might have been too early because he bats in the top order, and this was fantastically.
It was all educated guessing.
Yeah, exactly. I love the way you're doing that. Abhinav, can we have the fourth question? Yeah. So,
Oh
which
no,
player
more.
holds
Oh
the
gosh.
record for bowling the longest over in an international match? Is it Curtly Ambrose, Daryl Tuffy, Mohammad Sami, or Ashok Dinda?
But why would you even put Dinda in there? Because he's barely played. So, I mean, it's Kurtley and Daryl and Mohammad Sami and not Sami, it's Shami. And why would you put Dinda there? Because, I mean, with due respect to Ashok Dinda, he didn't play that many matches. And you talked about these other guys who played lots of test matches. So, again, educated guess, it would be Dinda.
So if I may correct you, it's Mohammad Sami from Pakistan. It's not
Sami,
Mohammad
that one. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Mohammad Sami. Yeah.
So you would like to go with?
Ashok Dinda, yeah.
Okay, Abhinav, can we check this?
Mohammad Sami.
It is actually
Mohammad
Sami
yeah,
from
Sami.
Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So,
Okay.
last question coming up. Abhinav, can we please have that? Yeah. So this is a famous Ashes quote: "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If dash don't get ya, dash must."
Well, these are obviously the bowlers.
Yeah.
So, wait, is it Lily Tomo time?
You're close. It's Thompson don't get ya, Lily must.
Yeah, Lily must. So I said Tomo Lily. Come, I mean Lily Tomo,
Yeah.
whatever. So there you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. That's it. I think it was.
Oh, what a
really
relief!
fun
Jeez.
segment.
Oh.
Yeah. But sir,
Anyway.
you got most of them right, and
I got a
the
few,
process
I got a
with which
few.
you went for the answer
I got a
was
few.
really amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sanchit, you can continue.
Exactly. So I think that was really entertaining. But now back to the question answer session. So this one is a pretty interesting one and a very recent memory, sir. So we have read articles stating what actually happened on the afternoon of 12th February 2022. So, sir, you might know where I'm getting into now. But when you received that call from Mr. Brijesh Patel, we actually never heard it from a primary source like you. And since you're here with us today, we'd actually like to hear it from you. And also, how was the overall experience, sir, of being the auctioneer on the main day?
Okay, now I don't want to dampen this at all by sounding phlegmatic and kind of boring about it, but the truth is that I am a legitimate auctioneer, and I'm connected to an auction house here in Bangalore called Biddenham, and I've done a fair number of auctions, whether it's art or jewelry or furniture and works of art, etc., in the past, to of course a very discerning, narrow audience and live. I've also designed, conducted, and held many other auctions for many other sporting properties in India, except the IPL. Now, that's something that people didn't know. So it's not something new for me. But yeah, the story is pretty much as I've said earlier, that Brijesh called. I was having lunch with my wife and her extended family back at home here in Bangalore, and he called and said, "Charu, where are you?" And I said, "I'm home." I was wondering. I said, "Is it something to do with the Karnataka State Cricket Association? He wants me there later." And I knew that the auctions were happening in Bangalore, but I wasn't really focusing on it because, I mean, what's it got to me? What's it got to do with me? Because sadly, the IPL or BCCI or whoever, unfortunately, haven't called me for IPL commentary for very long. So, God bless their soul. I don't know what the problem is, or Star or whoever, or Sony earlier. So I wasn't really into it. And then I get this call and he said, "I'm glad you're home. So can you come over to ITC Gardenia, which actually is only 2 minutes away from me?" And I said, "Yeah, I can. What's up?" And I felt like there's something wrong here. Yeah. And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Our auctioneer, unfortunately, has been very unwell. Something happened. He actually fell." And I said, "What, is he okay?" He said, "Yeah, we've taken him to hospital. Don't worry about all of that. We looked after him. But can you come here?" And why did he say that? Because he knew about my auctioneering background. It was just very lucky that I was here in Bangalore. I was free. I was available. And I said, "Of course I can come. I mean, no big deal at all." So I said, "I'll need a few minutes to change." He said, "Hurry it up. Change. Get here as quickly as you can." That's what I did. I went upstairs, put on a suit and a tie, and I got into a car, got to ITC Gardenia, where I met him. Of course, I was downstairs, didn't know where to go. I said, "Listen, this auction thing, I know there's a lot of accreditation, and I can't just walk in." He said, "No, don't worry. You stay right there. We'll send somebody." And, I was escorted into the hall. I met him and Hemang Amin, who, of course, is the CEO now of the BCCI. He quickly filled me in. And, of course, everybody else was there. So they kind of looked at me saying, "What's happening here? Why is he walking in?" Because there was a big delay. But, of course, most of the teams I know, most of the players I know, most of the guys I know. So I just said hello to everybody. And I kind of got down with Hemang, and he told me where we are. I said, "Listen, don't worry. I've done this before. It's easy. So what if it's IPL? It's like, I don't know. I mean, if you're walking in Norway, or if you're walking in Chile, or you're walking in New Zealand, you're walking, right? So what if it's, a different country or a different time or whatever? It may be a bad example, but you know what I mean. And so I said, okay, give me the auction book. And he showed me the auction book. I said, where have you got till? He said, here, Vanindu Hasranga. And I said, okay, well, everything else to go. And I said, all right, done. Just tell me who's going to pick up these, the names, and I'm ready to roll. They said, really? I said, do you want another half an hour? I said, no, let's go, because you've already deleted a bit. The only thing is, of course, that I realized then that it was on television. I normally have a molded earpiece, to my ear, so it doesn't keep popping out and all that. And I said, oh, it's on television too. So Dave was there, the producer, and I said, Dave, hey, fill me in, because now you got to say which camera, when, etc., and you got to wear a earpiece. So then I said, just give me 5 more minutes. I called home and I told my driver, who hadn't taken, I said, quickly find my earpiece, told my wife where it is. And so he brought it in, put my earpiece on, and said, let's go. And there we were.
Wow.
Fantastic, sir. So, and very interesting fact, sir, because in the last episode, we actually had the privilege to interview Hugh Edmund, sir, as well. And we asked him the same question, and he spoke really highly of you on that.
Oh, that's very kind of him. Thanks.
That's really amazing. So, sir, the last question.
But I will say this, that auctioneering is a very, very elementary, simple kind of, skill. So, I mean, it's no big deal at all. And you guys could auction easily. It requires a little bit of awareness of what's going on. It requires, obviously, a command over the language, because you need that. But you don't really need to push, because there are different kinds of auctions. I've done so many. I've done auctions where you don't need to push anyone, because people who are there to raise the paddle know just as much as you who they want. Of course, it's like an untamed wild animal, because it goes anywhere and anybody gets hold of anybody, because people have similar budgets, and so it's very complicated for those who are bidding, but very uncomplicated for the auctioneer. And it's a very kind of easy, simple thing. It's only in charity auctions that you need to push a bit, saying, "Come on, guys, come on, bid, because the money is going to charity. Come on, what about you? Come on, you got to push people. Otherwise, you just wait. Right. You want to bid. You don't want to bid, fine." Because anyway,
exactly, sir. And surely, I mean, on social media as well, on that day, many people actually fell for your voice. So it is already the most popular voice in social media.
Very kind of them.
Yeah. So the last question, sir, and it's a very important one. So the only reason that we sit here today is the fact that we are all sports enthusiasts. So since you have been at the helm of sports industry for such a long time now, what guidance or tips would you actually like to give people like us to make their way into the sporting industry? So kindly enlighten us with some of the words of your wisdom.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's that puts a lot of responsibility on me, but I will. For starters, I do believe in India, particularly. I mean, in the world, different countries are at different spaces in time for their sports industry. But in India, we're still dealing with an industry that's relatively less mature. It's still evolving. It's still maturing. And therefore, people who want to be involved in the world of sport need to do it because they're passionate about sport. It's a passion industry. It is not your usual high remuneration industry. I mean, no disrespect to engineers, for instance, but you may not, necessarily be a passionate engineer. I mean, you get an engineering because somebody pushes you, and you get to an institution, you do it, and then you're some engineer. And if you ask an engineer, he'd say, yeah, well, I'd rather be a musician or this or that. But yeah, I'm an engineer. In the world of sport, there's nobody who would rather be doing something else. It's not like, yeah, I work in the world of sport, but I'd rather be a computer technologist. No, you're all working in the world of sport because it's a passion. You love sport, everything about sport. Maybe you love one sport particularly and other sports a little less, but I'm saying multi-sport, or you like the concept of sport, or you watch a lot of sport, and you want to be a part of this industry desperately, knowing that in India, because of the lack of maturity, the remuneration is a little low. It is, I have to be honest, because the pay is not exactly the finest, but people tolerate that because they say, at least I'm working in this fabulous, exciting atmosphere, this arena that I love. And therefore, yeah, my remuneration is a little low, but that's okay. I don't mind, because someday later, maybe I'll be paid okay. Now, I just want to, and of course, there are many verticals. I mean, you could be in television and sport, or you could be in sponsorship sales, you could be in technology like you guys are, or, or maybe fan bases, or there are so many other angles to sport now. There can be at least a dozen, if not 24 verticals in sport, event management or player management. There's so many others, sponsorship management. team management, and so on and so forth. So it's growing without doubt more and more, and it's growing because thanks to the professional leagues, because teams have to be managed, and of course there's so much more. There's infrastructure management as well. There's so much more to get into the world of sport. If you're not aware that the remunerations are low, please don't join, because I don't want you to be frustrated saying, I've worked in 2-3 years and my salary is what, how much, this, that, and the other. I mean, imagine you wake up every day, and if you're doing what you love, in India, luckily, the cost of living is such that, yaar, do roti to kahin se bani jati, and so, you eat a bit, you get a couple of t-shirts, and you live a wonderful, exciting, vibrant, energetic life. Money is not everything. But money is something. You need money to carry on. So what tends to happen is a lot of people like you, I presume Amog and Sanchit, that once you've been a part of the sporting industry, you look for entrepreneurial opportunities. And there are many young people in the world of sport who are saying, all right, I will work for 2, 3, 5 years, which is what I recommend, get a whole lot of experience, and then say, all right, what is my big idea? Where would I really like to be? Where would I like to take an entrepreneurial plunge? Because the big companies in sport are still not there. There's IMG, I suppose, Reliance now. That's a pretty big company, and there are one or two others who employ. But otherwise, companies are all very small, mom and pop organizations. 2 people, 10 people, 12 people, that's it. And most young people, want to grow, want to, sort of increase their remuneration, should we say, which to my mind can only happen through entrepreneurship, which of course, as you will know, is not easy. I mean, ideas are there, but they need to be fleshed out, and need to, you need to have perseverance. I mean, with all humility, I can say that this whole Pro Kabaddi League thing took me 4 years to set up. A lot of running around, a lot of rejections. So it may take time, and therefore, and that's with all my experience in the world of sport and all my contacts. So for younger people, it may take a little longer. Be patient. If you love sport, join the world of sport. If you don't love it, don't.
Well, that was a fantastic piece of advice, and that such words coming from someone like you will really boost our confidence, and the confidence of every viewer watching whatever you spoke of right now. I think it is really a morale booster, and for people who are into sport because they love it, as you said, because for the passion of it, I think it will boost their confidence in the right direction to go and excel into something that
I hope
can
so.
make their living. Yes, exactly. So, sir, towards the end of the video, I would really like to thank you from our entire team at the Third Man Cricket Show for your valuable time. I think 2 months before, we never thought that someone like Charu Sharma would be on our show, but that's really very kind of you to grant your time
But
to
no,
us.
no, no, no,
And
no. 2 months ago, you didn't even think about wanting to invite me on your show. That's the truth. But anyway, thank you.
so we are always ready to invite you on our show whenever, but I think it is really very kind of you to come here and to share your insights of the sporting industry. So thank you very much for coming here on behalf of everyone at Third Man Cricket Show, and we would love to host you another time soon. Thank you very much, sir.
Amog, Sanchit, thank you so much for calling me. I love talking sport, and I love talking sport to youngsters, because you guys, the world is in your hands. I mean, you've got all the energy and all the hope and all the expectation, all the excitement. It's all with you. My time's up. So, in the future, whenever you need to, we'll have another chat on sports and talk about some maybe different angles, multi-sport, anything you want. Anything, any sport, anytime. So, we'll speak again. Sanchit, Amog, thanks so much. And I hope
Thank you
whoever
so much,
tunes
sir.
into your YouTube channel and all the rest of the social media. I'm sorry, I'm not very sort of well versed with this whole new media thing, but I hope all you guys enjoyed listening to this little, chat with Amog and Sanchit, and I look forward to being invited again. I hope I passed some kind of a test to be invited again.
Definitely, sir. You're the first name on the list. Thank
That's
you
very
so much.
kind of you, Sanchit. All right, all the best. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
sir.
sir. Thank you.
Well, if you like our content, do make sure to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and also subscribe to our channel without forgetting to hit the bell icon. Because the guests that we bring on to our channel, it takes a lot of efforts to reach out to them, source them, and actually bring it in front of you. And आपको मतलब दिख रहा होगा कितने efforts हम डाल रहे हैं, तो थोड़ा तो support आपसे end से भी बनता है. So please do keep on loving us, and we will promise to give you the content that you have signed up for.